Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. Back with Doug. How you going, Doug?
Oh man, I'm just so happy to be back here. Long story short, it's been a long, crazy couple of months, but I am just thrilled to be back. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to be back. This is the first video of 2025 for that. I think you're recording, right?
Oh yeah.
So back with the deep dives. It's only February, but yeah, no, it's been a little bit busy. To be honest, our channel has honestly been a little bit quiet, but we are looking to do a lot more in 2025, guys. That don't take it as a sign of us slowing down. We were just getting our bearings in order. So, now we're there. We're going to be doing a lot more. And what a way to kick it off, man. We are starting off with one of the most, I'm just going to say, successful from a box office point of view, but from a popularity point of view, and people in the comments let me know, this might be one of the most popular Malayalam movies of all time. Like, this movie is so popular. It made so much money. In fact, Lucifer was the first Malayalam movie to earn more than 200 crore, including its box office collections and earnings from the sale of its satellite rights and digital streaming rights in other languages. So it's currently the sixth highest grossing Malayalam film.
Wow.
And I think it was even higher before, but last year was a box office breaking year for the Malayalam film industry. So a lot of records got broken last year itself. So it's probably higher. And I think the thing about this movie that was a big deal was it came out it was very successful on Amazon Prime. I remember that. Like, it came out on Amazon Prime. It was one of the first movies to really, along with Drishyam, I think, like Drishyam 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around that time they both sort of came out and they made a lot of, they really propelled that industry. Along with another movie we've covered, Joji as well, was really popular on Amazon Prime. So the Malayalam cinema really did well on Amazon Prime, I think. And we can sort of tell why. Like, this movie was pretty cool, man.
I mean, it's got literally everything you would want in the style of movies. And when you're talking about political thrillers and action flicks, something that I've done a lot in the past, but I don't think I'm going to do much today, is like there are analogous films in the Hollywood industry that, I kind of see here, kind of see there, but it's more like the themes of everything that you would want. The score was fantastic. Production values are off the charts. Everybody's performing, including, and we'll get into it, of course, deeper later, but like, our villain is somebody we can actually all agree to detest. And
from the start,
Mohanlal is firing on all cylinders, but like a different version of him than we've seen before. And I appreciated the kind of understated nature of his performance, because then it allows you to really sit back by the time we get to that third act and we really realize what's going on, and the people that he's working with. Oh, well, okay, well, maybe there's more to their story that is informed by him. So, I kind of see him being more of a mentor and like a delegator, if the story was to continue. But like, it has everything. It's got good action. It's got good dramatic beats. It's one of those rare, kind of felt like a movie that you would have seen in the 1980s. Like, it took its time to get where it needed to go. 3 hours worth of time. And just when you thought you might be ready for something else, it gave you that in spades.
It really did. And I wanted to sort of start off before we're going to do our scene reaction stuff, guys. Don't worry. There'll be a lot of scenes. We're going to cover a lot of scenes because, as Doug mentioned, it's 3 hours. So, we took quite a few of pretty classic and iconic scenes. A couple of mashups as well I put together just because, there was some, I'll try to fit as much as I can into the scene reactions, but we do want to make it primarily conversation based as we do. But I wanted to ask you, because you pointed off some of the points I was going to talk about, but essentially what makes like a mass entertainment film? Because that's what this movie is kind of advertised as. It's kind of one that everyone can enjoy. And we ourselves have not covered so many of these movies, to be honest. A lot of our deep dives are really to do, a lot of the older movies especially are the ones that are like thought pieces or
we've really leaned dramatic,
or psychological aspects and themes, and they've talked about and things like that, more on the drama. But we haven't done really hardcore entertainment ones, like deep dives especially like that. So you mentioned some of the points there. Like, I think the music is a big deal. Like, performances are a big deal, but what makes this movie and movies like this so appreciated by the masses? Like, because I feel like anyone can watch this movie. Like, this is a movie that everybody can enjoy, and so that's why it's so successful too. It's not niche. It's not like, okay, you have to only enjoy action movies to enjoy this. You can actually watch this just for everything it offers. So I just want to make a list. What are the points that we have to sort of cover?
Well, I think the vast majority of that comes down to accessibility. So how does every part of the production highlight the accessibility of the film? And by the time what our by the time our actual story is really revealed, then it becomes, all right, great. And Mohanlal even delivers the line we may watch here soon. Politics is about evil against, greater or lesser evil. It's not about good versus evil. So we have a morally gray character that is standing for the right of characters that are unquestionably good. This is a story we all know and love, right? This goes all the way back to like the hero's journey. These are absolutely beats we all know. So then if the music is wonderful, if we have enough action, if we have enough characters to care about, if we have a villain that we can all agree to detest, if you have all of those things just kind of stewing together in a pot and plated in a dish, well then, of course it's going to be mass appealing. Because even though the first roughly 30 minutes of this movie moves by very quick, and we're given a lot of exposition, and we're told that these are going to be the characters we need to focus on, and we're teed up to think that our main character is Lucifer himself. Shortly thereafter, everything resolves very quickly into here are our pieces, and here they go against one another, and it's just delightful to watch after that. Again, I don't want to look at any other comparisons, but any story that is broadly mass marketed will have that. It will have approachability and everything in the production designed to levitate and lift that approachability.
Yeah. No, exactly right. And I think just to add to that, it's also that this movie does something really well, and it creates these. Look, I'm not going to lie, like the storyline and script. Like if I was to look at this from like trying to break down what exactly was right, what was wrong, there probably are some flaws here and there in this movie. It's not like a perfect movie at all, but I think we can overlook that because of just adding on to sort of what you mentioned about the production being so good and the melting pot of these different aspects coming together. It's also just this. It has so many of these like iconic moments, and that's from sort of the start to the end. Like it's just paced out so well as well, so that, as you said, it's a 3-hour movie. It's sort of easy. Imagine like a movie that like a 3-hour movie I'm just trying to compare with like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings or something like that. That's got so much lore and depth and something like that. It's trying to achieve something and tell you a central message and follow these characters. This, on the other hand, is like 3 hours of just like bam, 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 bam. Like, like even from the start, we have like the journalist come in, Indrajith, Sukumaran, and he sort of comes in at the start, and he's like, his performance is so like intense, even though he's just talking to a screen, and it's very, very captivating. And then we move on to Mohanlal's entrance. We see that coming in. It seems like every moment there's something to just be like, captured by. And that's what this movie does so well, I feel. Whether it's good or bad or evil, we have some eccentric characters. We have the Russian character who's there for like 2 scenes. But I
love that guy. I love that guy.
Impact. Yeah. Like everyone is like, every part of this movie, we have obviously Zahid Masood, who's in there, Prithviraj, Sukumaran, the superstar. He's there for a little bit, and even though he doesn't add to this, he adds to the story quite a bit, but his performance is so good and so fun that you're like, you never get bored in this movie because there's always something that's going to excite you. And I think that's also an important part what makes this movie so successful. It's that despite being 3 hours, you really never feel a lull in this movie. Like it's really well paced, and that's because of what's going to happen now in action scene, or what's going to happen now in speech, or what's going to happen now, like this twist in the plot, what's going to happen now, a change in the story here. So it's like, it's so many different parts of this movie. It makes it so fun. I enjoyed watching the movie so much. It's such a fun movie to watch.
I know, I had an absolute blast. It's not like the vast majority of the ones that we had covered in 2024, especially our more dramatic ones. You're glued to the screen, but it's for a completely different reason. With this one, I was just, I had my water in this hand and I had the remote in the other, and then I put the remote down and I was just like, all right, take me. Where am I going, movie? What are we doing now? Like, absolutely a great time. And not to say that it's in any way inferior to our more dramatic pursuits, but it is definitely one that I didn't have to think about as much. Again, after that first 30 minutes, I was a little bit worried in those first 30 because I was like, wow, how many chess pieces do I have to keep up with? And then you realize, well, we've got 2 hours and 30 minutes left to now see where these characters are going.
Yeah, let's unpack some of that. So let's get into our first scene, man. I think that was a good intro. Let us chuck on some epic scenes right here.
Sorry, sir. PM convoy. Protocol.
You just have to see half of Mohanlal's face.
I know, that's... And I think that scene right there is actually perfect to talk about what I was expressing earlier, is that like I've always extolled his eyes, and the way that much of his performance is in his eyes, but how understated he is in this movie. How there's it's like he's ripped the charisma right out. The only time you really see it is in the scenes where he's interacting with the kids, kind of.
Yeah, that's a common theme with Mohanlal that we've seen. It's the scale of this also that makes it so great. Like,
I know.
They don't hold back on like how many people are coming in, like the scenes of epicness of just like speeches with like hundreds of thousands of people. That's what makes it so grand as well. Here we go. Here he is.
Stephen.
It's perfect.
It's excellent.
Music,
it's excellent. Like right there. If you're watching this movie and you see this scene right here, you're like, all right, I guess I'm in. Because whoever this person then becomes, we now understand the gravity associated with him.
Correct, exactly. Framing.
Excellent. What year did this release? Do you remember?
2019.
Okay.
Man, I can strike a pose.
Sure can. Hit you with those fire eyes.
Yeah. It's so dramatic. It almost feels like
it's perfect.
It almost feels like it's over the top, but it just works. Like
yes, 100%.
Like if it's not done to this level of perfection, it feels like it could be. It's such a delicate line to play because it could be over the top and it's getting cringy. It's too long. It's like, oh, this isn't working. This character's not able to really give us a gravitas that he's trying to show us. But Mohanlal nails that. So like, and that just, as I said before, so many people around him with the music coming in, the slow motion. Like sometimes I don't like that in movies too much because they do it over the top, and I've seen this in other Indian movies, which is a bit too much for me sometimes. But in this movie, the way it's just done, I was all on board. I was just like, what an entrance. Like this isn't the first scene we see him in, but this is kind of like the entry of his character, I guess, when he's walking through and it's so grand. He's like, yeah, it was pretty fun.
Well, and the this is a credit to the writer of the film as well, because immediately after that, it could have just simply been you will let me in, you'll let my friends in. There could have been this huge explosive action, but instead we just get him walking in, doing what he needs to do, looking at people and walking back out, right? Like it's not like he's doing anything. So it's all to elevate and influence who this character is and kind of give you that first tip that even though we had been told, right, that he may be Lucifer himself, that maybe there's more layers and depth to this character, and we don't know how many just yet, but we will be informed of that by the time the movie comes to a close. Which is it's pretty spectacular. So yeah, you know what, that scene in lesser hands is the entire Fast and the Furious franchise, right?
Yeah,
that's exactly what that like.
That itself has its own value and its own fun, but there's something about that grew over time to become more cheesy popcorn. Whereas this, I feel like, has a status above that. Like it doesn't 100%. Feel as much. Like it feels like there's more to this, and it might just be it might be Mohanlal's performance, and you're comparing. I don't want to talk badly about anybody, but Vin Diesel is not the most emotional person I've seen, except for when he's angry. That's his main emote when he's angry. But Mohanlal in this movie, man, when he's like, you sort of mentioned it, we mentioned at the start as well. Like we're so used to seeing the charismatic Mohanlal. Like it's almost like it's hard for him not to be charismatic. And he sort of transforms in a lot of the movies we've seen. He goes through a transformation where he sort of becomes somebody else. But in this movie, from the start, he starts off as somebody that's completely contained. Like he doesn't show, as you said, there's just a small moments here and there with the kids mostly, which is also a common theme with him. When he sort of lets his emotion out, his more jovial side out. But in this, like, does he smile in this movie? Like,
I think only when he's telling the stories to the kids.
Yeah, correct. He's a hardened guy, right? Like he's lived a hard life. It looks like. So it's just. for him to do that and to pull it off, and as we said, like, yeah, the camera just loves him. Just follow him, put him in the frame, half his face, full face, whatever you want to, however you want to show him, full body. He's just perfect. He's a complete package. I appreciated this performance from him because it's something that we've seen a lot of Mohanlal movies.
It was very different.
Yeah.
And like I was discussing with you before we actually came on to record, like what makes this movie work, in addition to all the other things we talked about, is how good your villain is.
Yes.
So your morally gray character, in this case, very good for the vast majority of what we see him do, is great. But, to juxtapose that, like the Batman needs his Joker, yada, yada. And Bobby was spectacular as that in this film, right? So because we have all of these pieces set up and we now kind of have this introduction to the character, like, all right, great. How are we going to interplay with that? And how are we juxtaposing? And neither of those two people ever are like caricatures. They're never cartoonish, which means that moments like this, like that scene we just watched, can exist and makes us feel like there's just something really, truly enormous happening, even if it's not going to be explosive on the screen.
Correct. No, he was absolutely fantastic, and we're going to get to him too. And he was a perfect villain, I think, for this. Like, I mean, he just played, like, I mean, from the start, it seems like he doesn't have an ounce of goodness inside him. Like, and that's kind of, for this kind of movie, I think it worked really well. Like, he was really that Batman villain, like just completely evil in ways that are completely detestable, and you just hate him from the start. And sometimes, again, like, this movie kind of makes me, for a lot of other movies, for the criticisms, sometimes when I criticize movies for using cheap tactics, for some reason it works in this movie well, because I think it knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be outside of that too. Like, it knows this is meant to entertain. This guy's a bad guy. Let's go all in. And what's the most despicable thing we can do? I can't remember if I can remember a villain like this who's doing what he's doing as a stepfather. I was like, have I seen this before? No, probably not in any movies I can think.
No. He very much reminded me of like a Nicolas Cage character. If he was going to be a bad guy, like that's the way he would play it. Like,
correct. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm going to be depraved all the way deep down in my bones.
Yeah. Yep. He's not going to sort of hold back on that. I mean, we should give him some credit. His name is Vivek Oberoi, and he's actually a Hindi actor. So he's from Bollywood. So he's not a face that we see too much in Malayalam cinema, but yeah, they probably dubbed his voice and stuff like that. But even with that, every time he was on screen, he had the presence. Some of the scenes when he's in the boardroom and talking to people, in every scene he was there, it was good. Like whatever situation he was in, whatever setting he was in, it was always good to see him. That's the thing I liked about this movie. Everyone was a character, and everyone, whenever I saw them, I almost like smiled because I was like, okay, cool. What is this guy going to do now? So there's more of that. But let's take a look. I think the next scene is with our good friend Bobby. So let's check this one out. Yeah.
Here we are. Like who touches a book like that?
Is that Chris?
You shouldn't have bothered.
Maybe you like what you see. The famous Malana cream. This local weed potent hash soochichu use and don't share it with your friends, okay?
Thanks, Gopy.
Yeah, the technical aspects of this movie are really good. The framing of this shot, the music that's coming in, the intimacy of the bedroom, like
it's just it 100%. And you've said it a few times. It knows what it is, and it's leaning 100% into that.
Yeah.
Because generally we tend to, as an audience, enjoy a morally gray character more than just a pure Boy Scout, a good character. So Steven's backstory being revealed a little bit later on, but unquestionably, Bobby is wrong, right?
Correct.
And we're told that in no uncertain terms when, Mohanlal gets confronted by him. I actually love that scene. Do we have it here?
Which one? The one where I don't know.
The one where he's like telling him what direction the party's moving in.
Yes.
Who's going to be funding.
I don't know if I kept it or not, but I guess we'll find out.
But that is the scene where he says,
but that is a great scene, and like every interaction,
more or less evil, and what you're doing is more evil, and just essentially telling you, like, I'm going to stop you.
Correct.
And it's really good, but what more can you say about that scene? Shot well, solidifies what you already felt about that character. Shows you that the daughter is, morally corruptible, but also probably is good, but just stuck in a bad situation. Just really excellent. And from that moment on, when I knew who our two key, people to really focus on were, I was 100% hooked.
Yeah, definitely. No. And I think there's something with as I mentioned, sort of the pacing of this movie. And I like the timing of this scene because, like, I think before this, they were setting him up to be strategic and, like, he was like, is he an evil mastermind? He has all these connections and stuff, but we haven't seen, like, the real darkness in him, like what's a real ugly side of him. It's bad to be, bad. He's bad politically and things like that. That's sort of show us to begin with. But when this comes around, it's like, okay, this guy's going too far. Like he's doing things that we're not comfortable with, and he does. As the audience watching this, you start to you really want this guy's downfall. Like you're waiting for it.
You get the skin crawls almost immediately.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're like, okay, I'm waiting for your downfall, which is great because we have another. I think at this point in the movie, it's like maybe 30, 40 minutes in. So, there's 2 hours of essentially waiting for his downfall. And we're just waiting for that piece by piece. The sub bosses come in or, the mini bosses come in and Mohanlal has to beat them. He has to go through his own drama as well. So many sort of turns we take to get there. But when we get there at the end, it's fulfilling. It's so good. Having a good villain is so important to movies. Like that's honestly one 100%. Of the main criticisms that when we watch, Marvel movies, the ones that are always the best ones are the ones that have the best villain because they juxtapose against our heroes. So we need that good villain, and this movie did it perfectly. I think this is the perfect model for especially this kind of movie. Perfect villain. So he was fantastic, great acting, great production, as we already talked about. We're probably going to talk about the production quite a bit in this because I think it was a standout. Like this was really
it really
good.
was. It really was. Yeah. I mean, within about 30 seconds, I just uttered into the air like, "Wow, this one looks amazing." And Joji looks incredible. The production relevant to the type of movie that this is, right? Because we have to do a lot. We have to thread a lot of needles here, and we have to be a very convincing action flick as well. And this one does, because we've seen these types of fight scenes before, in a lot of the movies that we've covered, and I'm sure we'll watch some, but we've seen the knees, we've seen the kicking, we've seen some of the stuff, but like to take who is no longer a young Mohanlal and convincingly put on screen that he is doing this himself is no small feat, and it looked wonderful.
It did. It was, and that's a testament to the way this was shot as well. Because Mohanlal can do a lot, but I'm not expecting him to do backflips and
lift people into the air.
Stuff like that. But so a lot of credit to the way this was edited and put together as well. Yeah, it's a really well done movie, man. So let's get on to the next one. We're having some fun with this. Let's see what's next. Oh yeah, this is what I mean. Iconic scenes.
Sir. IPC 376 அது மட்டும் இல்ல போக்சோ ஆக்ட் செக்ஷன் 4 and 5 வேற ஹேண்ட் கஃபோட தான் கூட்டி போணும் வாங்க போலாம்.
We got a lot of slow motion feet, and another credit to the movie. That shot repeats constantly.
It does. Yeah.
Right, but you start to get a sense, and I also really enjoy, and not to give too many spoilers, but by the end of the movie, we still don't have a firm resolution on his backstory, right?
No,
we don't. It's kind of left up in the air, and I enjoyed that it did that.
Yes.
But you kind of get the sense that he's always just been a man walking toward the gallows or away from them.
Yeah.
And that's what I really took those shots to mean.
Yeah. Oh. Mohanlal is a master of the subtleties, man.
That's so good.
We haven't seen him explode yet, right? And even when he's exploding, it's still contained. It feels
still
like it's
so restrained.
Balancing. This guy was great as well.
Excellent.
As a mini boss. Again, the half-face.
I noticed that too. He just used his eyes to scan him real quick. It's like he took the measure of the man.
Correct.
And solidify his face in your memory.
This moment's going to count. It's going to come back. Oh, just another this iconic scene like that to me with the stretched out leg and his emotions just exploding. I mean, that's one that I could see. We haven't. I didn't see the trailer for this, but I guess this one might have been the trailer, but it would also take away from seeing this the first time because I feel like seeing this in like the first time and that shot right there with the music and the stakes are at play here.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't watch the trailer either, because if you did and you saw him, doing some of the action scenes, that it might take away, it would undoubtedly take away from the fact that, he's being posited as like the worst of the worst by our, conspiracy theorist character.
Yes.
And I love that scene where he's like, oh no, I really don't have anything on him, but everybody else, like he was just kind of cooking with something, I don't know, this guy's going to be bad. And he isn't at all, well, when he needs to be. Anyway, I really enjoyed, and this further underpins how his understated performances is pretty great because, directly leading up to this, what leads to this instance is the woman that he helped give birth and gave her money went on a talk show paid by the political party to spread this massive, horrible lie about him. And he's holding it in this entire time. It's like he's always kind of playing that 4D chess of understanding who might be responsible for something. So he's not holding anybody. And like, even later on, he asks how the baby is. Like,
that scene, that was
a really cool... Just a really cool extra subtle detail when I'm watching these pieces kind of out of context to know, like, that's how restrained he's keeping himself.
Yes.
Pretty not immediately being flagrant. He's not shouting at people that he didn't do it. He's not having anybody that's with him shout that he didn't do it because he knows the truth will out. It's pretty cool stuff.
It's pretty cool. It's like a great, I guess this is a great study on power because, I guess this movie is all about who has the power, which entities have the power, which characters have the power. And at the end of the day, it's a guy who's silent and just sort of looking with his eyes at you, who's going to take over everything, right? So despite the flexing and the different scenes they have with the news publications and things like that, like this scene here, you can tell the police officer is like, yeah, cool, I'm in power, but he's not. I mean, you can all see that. It's like, no, you're not. And even he's willing to go to jail, make the most of it because he ends up making friends there, and then
he has a great time. Arguably, he has a wonderful time in jail.
Yeah, exactly. And he gets himself out, and then he sets up more connections. It's like, oh my god, okay, like nothing is sort of his world is like it's like he's in control of his world, despite the fact that it's not really the positive outlook on life he has. Like that's
and you just made a fantastic point. So it's like he has control of his world, but only the world that was given to him, the world that was gifted to him by the person he is sad who has died. Correct. Right? Like, and he's so conflicted by his relationship with this man who took him in, and what caused a rift between his real family and him, and whether or not he's a part of that real family. That even though he is, for all intents and purposes, actually in control and capable of taking the reins at any moment, he's not interested in that because he doesn't feel like he's owed it.
Yes.
And to like, it's a really cool way to essentially inform you as to why he doesn't just immediately do these things to start with, right? Like, why would you take this time? Well, it's not really my world, but I care about these people, which is why I would, take up residence here and help out with this orphanage, and why I would care to make sure that I help this party actually get people in charge that should be in charge, which is, it's all those moves. It reminds me of some of the better scripts of the films that we started with when I first joined the channel. Like all of these weird loose threads all come together.
That's true. That's actually a great point. Yeah, and this movie is more, I guess, deeper and layered once you sort of start to unpack it a little bit. Because that's the other thing that what makes a mass appeal movie works so well. It actually has multiple layers to it. One, you can be entertained by it like it does, but you can also just go away and think about it and be like, wait a second, there's a lot of really clever stuff that did in this movie, from the cinematography, from also the foreshadowing, from sort of the plays of power, the themes that I play with family and the politics and things like that. So there's a lot that it does really well. Like it's providing statements on, like society and the way we should be and things like that. But at the same time, it's not in your face where you have to absorb that information to get something valuable out of this. You can just shut your brain off and watch this and be like, whoa, Mohanlal just kicked him, and be like, be amazed by it.
Did he pick him up by his head and throw him at other people? Yeah, you bet he did. But ultimately what the movie is saying, and I think that's it, is like, you can be the most powerful, most capable, most wonderful, most caring and communal, but at the end of the day, if you don't feel comfortable necessarily in your own skin or in your own community, then you might have feelings for it, and you might want what's best for it, and you might be willing to fight for it, but you might ultimately have to remove yourself from a situation. That's not that is maybe discounting like the very beginning of the movie when we get that guy from Interpol who's like, oh, it's a Brahms, we get the call back later on. Maybe internationally he is an awful person, but at least to this community willing to do what's right.
No, they're probably going to explore that a little bit more because there was definitely, as we sort of, the second one's coming out soon at the time you're watching this, but yeah, there's definitely more to the story and more to the character as we saw at the start of the movie, as you mentioned, and definitely the end, which doesn't hide the fact that there's more going on between with Steven's character here. But let's get on to the next scene.
I wish I spoke the language. Yeah. Like for this particular scene, I wish I spoke the language and understood it because this must have been so much fun to watch in a theater or for the first time, like when you fully because it was fun for me.
It was great. Man, this would be fun to see in the cinema, like far out. There'd be some cool moments.
What's he doing? Well, that was my prepared speech. എന്റെ മലയാളം ഒട്ടും നല്ല മലയാളം അല്ല അല്ലേ? ഞാനിവിടെ ലാൻഡ് ചെയ്ത ദിവസം എന്നെ ആദ്യം മീറ്റ് ചെയ്തത് ഇവിടുത്തെ ഒരു ഫേമസ് ഇമേജ് മാനേജ്മെന്റ് ഗ്രൂപ്പാണ്. അവരെന്നെ മുണ്ടെടുക്കാൻ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്നു, മലയാളം പറയാൻ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്നു.
I love that gray hair too. When I saw them paint that on, I was like, it's a good detail. I get it. Like again, these things could be absurdities, but then it does the masterstroke of something like this.
It does. Classes as well.
What's your
same question.
മുണ്ടെടുക്കാൻ അറിയാതെ മലയാളത്തിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ അറിയാതെ PK രാംദാസിന്റെ മകൻ ജതിൻ രാംദാസ് നിങ്ങളുടെ മുന്നിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ വന്ന് നിൽക്കുമെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നുണ്ടോ?
Again, I'm just reacting to the crowd. Like,
it's so cool.
Yeah.
And this is such an important moment because it's before you understand his connection to Steven.
Yes.
It already begins to sow that discord in the party where they're like, all right, maybe we don't need Bobby anymore. Like our old friend that we were discussing before we even, got on recording, right?
Yes,
He's
definitely.
already willing, like very shortly thereafter this, already willing to be like, and this is how you approach Bobby, and this is how we're going to take this down, and this is how we're going to get it done. And like, just very smart. And what a charismatic performance. Even not understanding the language, just reading the subtitles was so engaged.
Like, exactly. That's a part of. I could tell that, like, even from just listening to him without the subtitles, you could tell what was going on. Like, he's stuttering, he's not able to speak properly, and all of a sudden he switches it. So, I sort of mentioned it as you sort of were talking about in the what you call it, seeing this in the cinema. This would have been a moment that would have been like, oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, imagine you're sitting in a row with 6 of your friends, and like you're just like, what? Like, and this is after Mohanlal has already mowed down however many bad guys, and like. After all of this already cool stuff has happened in the movie, and like you've all agreed that this is our bad guy, and I think that's why you may notice that I'll stop talking about the production more as we go forward because I'm more interested in the character. And I didn't know this was going to be, there would be a part 2 or part 3, but it felt like that to me. So when you and I discussed that right before we actually hit record, it was like, okay, that's why I care about the characters in this movie more than what makes it a movie, because it's not a fully complete story, even though it is self-contained. It just felt like it immediately ended on like, wait for more, which I am waiting for more. But that's why I'm talking about the characters so much more than how the camera moves or anything, because those things fell into the background for me.
Yeah.
I cared about the people more.
Yep, it's really clever to do all that stuff, sort of all the heavy lifting sort of up front that we saw. I mean, it is continued throughout, but you are right, because you start to get more and more engrossed with these different characters. And when sort of Tovino Thomas character come in, huge star, again, like for some reason Doug's not seen any movies of his. I guess me and Doug watched sort of all the movies together, but he is one of my...
At least 4 or 5 times now, I think.
Yeah. He is someone that is just like for me, he just exudes charisma. Like that's something that he does so well, and you can see it in the scene right here, like the way he's able to subtly just switch the tone and switch the way he speaks like that. Like again, not even understanding the language, I can imagine listening to that first part, you'd have been like, because you would never known at that time too. You'd have been like, okay, cool, this is some foreigner. There's going to be some struggles. That's sort of the suspense of this. Like, who's this guy? What's his character? They brought in some guy from some nepotism or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you see him just be like, wait a second, no, I am the true heir. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa. So a really fun moment. I loved how this movie was able to, despite the fact having so many interesting characters, no one felt like they were like underused or like I guess the spotlight was put on someone else more than the others, except maybe central character Mohanlal, but that's more to do with screen time than actually like the character himself. Because even we had the character of Priya Manju Warrier. I thought she was
excellent,
really good.
She was
in
excellent.
her own, in her own sort of way as well. So again, there's so many characters in this movie. It really is like an ensemble cast if you really think about it. But everyone has a moment to sort of shine, and no one is sort of outshining the others. Even when they're sort of interacting with each other, when they're in the boardroom and stuff like that, everyone has a moment. Where it just feels like, okay, this is this guy's scene, and we love this character. We want to see more of it, good or bad. Like we're just entranced by them. So this is an example of that, where he just comes in halfway through the movie, I think, and just has his impact. Because I'm like, where's this story going? It's like looking like it's going to sort of end off here, and then we sort of ramp it back up to the second half, which just turns into the second half of this movie was fantastic. I enjoyed the second half of the movie so much. Once everything was sort of in place, and we had to see how that would sort of all unfold. So much fun, really. Good.
The second half flew by. Like we often talk about this, like the quotient of whether or not you would look at your phone. Not that I did, but the first half of the movie, I could see some people, having their phone in their hand and looking down, here and there. That second half of the movie, you would be hard pressed to pull your eyes away from the screen. I guarantee it.
Exactly right.
But the only character I feel like that, and pretty much my only issue with the movie is that we start off with such a bang with our conspiracy theorist character really telling us all that we need to know, and then we get that awesome engaging scene with him later on where he's talking about his family, but why he does what he does, and like it's cool that we get a nice little touch in with him later on, but it felt like it felt like Bobby was going to force him to do something equally horrible. That was the only thing that, like, again, it is a loose end that gets tied up, right? Because we do see him, get back together with his family in the end, or at least be near them. But it was strange that we didn't have more from him, or like maybe him helping Mohanlal at some point, helping Steven, like maybe he got him out. It was almost like they literally put him in a box for a while. Yeah. And then they were like, okay, now we'll pull him back up.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. They basically kidnapped him, chucked him in a box, and then it was a bit confusing as to what was going to happen.
We'll see you later.
We'll see you later until the end where he comes out. But knowing that there's multiple parts of this movie, he sort of fell into the same bucket as, honestly, his brother. So Zahid Masood, the actor Prithviraj, these two are brothers. So the guy that played Zahid Masood,
that explains it. I was like, why was he so prominently featured, and why was he so good? Also,
he's also
spectacular.
He's also a very good actor. So it's not like this isn't his only movie. He's an established actor. Like he's also does his own thing. I think Prithviraj's his whole family's in the business and stuff like that. So they got legacy there. But in terms of like the way I took it was like, because I knew the second one was coming, which is kind of why I wanted to wait so long to watch this movie, because I wanted to watch it alongside the second one to be like, okay, fine, this is chapter one, and I feel like both the Sukumarans brothers are both going to have the characters explored much more in their second movie, because you can say the same thing with Zahid Masood. Like, yes, he's there and he's entertaining as hell whenever he's there, but I'm like, he must have a story. What's going on here? I want to know more about this guy. Like, who is this guy? Like, how did Mohanlal meet him? How did Steven meet him? And like,
I do have a theory about that, and knowing that there is multiple parts, I was like, okay, there is the scene, the action scene, the first one when we know that the drug manufacturing parts and pieces are being delivered, and he goes to confront them. He does that move where he has like the person's head right behind him, and then later on we see the same move done by that person. Right?
Correct. Yep.
We see the exact same move. So I think he may have been responsible for training them. Like the whole reason they work together is like because he founded the society. Like he already sits in an orphanage. It stands to reason he maybe have taken in some other orphans and founded pretty much an entire organization of, shifty people that will do the questionable work that needs to be done, which we see them doing at the end of the film,
Yeah. No, that's a pretty good theory. I think that's definitely a good one. They're definitely connected somewhere in their past, and I'm sure they're going to explore that much more in the sequels to come. Which, after watching this, we're both super excited to see. So
I will be there.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. But let's get on to the next scene.
Yeah. This was awesome.
This was awesome. Yeah. The reveal. I love it because it was the kind of combat here, the action is in such strong contrast to Mohanlal style, which is just like, the opposite of this. It's more hand to hand. This is like out of a James Bond movie or something like that.
Yeah, especially with that, what is it, the anchor at the end?
Yes.
Yes, and you're right. Yeah, this is very Casino Royale, like very Daniel Craig era Bond. Which is kind of what this, look at that in terms of mass appeal, right? Like I joked earlier that in lesser hands it's Fast and the Furious, but what is Fast and the Furious other than James Bond with Vin Diesel and cars, Like, we're looking at a connected universe of films and people that need to be compelling enough for you to watch in multiple films. And we check all those boxes here.
That's true. I cut it off from the end part, which I was going to enjoy because he's like, "Fight me, man to man."
Yeah, like, come on, man, I know you.
Yeah,
and then it does the reverse Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, that was a good scene. We already talked about it a little bit, but just to harp on it, the different ways. So Prithviraj is not just the actor here; he's also the director of this movie, and I believe this is the only movie he's directed. So this is the only movie he's directed. Yeah, I think so. If you're in the comment section, let me know.
That is the case, I think, regardless of the case, you get one of these.
Yeah, I know.
And I would do it a lot louder, but I don't want to harm my microphone.
I'm pretty sure this is either the only movie he's done, or maybe he's in one other smaller one or something like that. But this is like one of the claims to fame. So this is his Prithviraj's kind of baby. That's why he's sort of protecting it so much. And there was some issues with this movie regarding its release time. I think it was that was more around the sequel. So this came out in 2019, I believe, and then it came out in 2019, and then the second one was meant to come out a bit earlier, not in 2025, but coronavirus and all that put some delays on it, so there was some production issues, so now it's been pushed back a little bit more. But he's always envisioned this movie as a 3-part series, I believe, or I think he talked about it as a potentially even a web series at some time, to be like on a show or things like that, because that would also make sense to give a lot more depth to sort of this movie.
Sure.
But yeah, he's the director of this movie. He plays this awesome role here, and he's going to be involved with it much more. So kudos to him. Kudos for him to put together. It's definitely this was a great scene, and I did enjoy that. Just that contrast. Again, this movie, mass appeal. It's got different things that you can appreciate, and at different times. If it had the same kind of action scene that Mohanlal was doing, you have the danger of being like comparing the two or something like that, and being like a younger guy did it like this guy did it like this guy's more established, should be compared. No, they're completely different in completely different worlds. And then it took a different shape when this stuff happened. It's like, okay, it's no longer sort of that grounded village kind of fighting scene. It's like international waters. Before the scene, there's like he's like blowing up trucks, right? Wasn't that the scene before this? He's going around and having like explosions. So they didn't hold back on the budget at all. Like just like, yep, explosions.
Oh no! That's what it became, and I feel like that was another part of what made it so mass appealing to me, is that the production value is indistinguishable from any of the highest caliber around the world, right?
Correct.
And it is just all the right things at all the right times, and it never becomes too slapsticky, and it never becomes too dour. It always rides that nice, really, really beautiful middle line that never dips away from accessibility and approachability, right? Like just when you think it might get too complicated, like we're gonna kick somebody now, like, and I was so taken with it. It was a total blast.
Really, really was. I'm just rewatching it. Just reliving those moments with you is really fun too, man. Let's get on to the next one. How could I not?
This was absolutely
back to back.
And that's what I was talking about before. Like, I will never besmirch the good name of Mohanlal, but like, you convinced me that a man this age, with this storied of a career, did that. Flipped a person like that.
The camera spinning. Oh.
And never, like, we said earlier, he doesn't smile. He doesn't make any other expression either.
No, yeah.
It's like a light scowl always.
Exactly. Except for that one moment where he's shouting, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, chills. Because we could probably watch the action scenes for like the whole movie, I guess, because they're so good.
I'm willing to wager that the vast majority of the people who showed up to watch this video expected us to talk at great length about them, and I will, But I also kind of don't want to, because it's more the work that was put into making this character so mysterious and not resolving that mystery.
Yeah.
And providing us with an absolutely spectacular villain that kept me so engaged and engrossed that I cannot wait for part 2 now. So the action is wonderful. We're both in agreement on that. I'm sure everybody watching this video is. It's great, and I would watch it again and again and again, and I'm sure I will. But it's secondary to who the characters are and what I'm curious about with the characters, because I can watch him do that all the time. But as that third act scene already does, we already have other people doing the action for Steven.
Correct. Yeah.
So that he can get his resolution. Right? Like the movie already teases us up for that. It's almost like it's saying, don't expect this the whole time. He has other stuff to do. And these people, Zaid, the director of the movie, is going to go ahead and kick people for us now.
Correct.
And I really appreciate that.
No, I definitely did too. I'm happy they didn't go overboard and make this into a full-fledged action movie or something like that, because I appreciate this so much more. Like, these moments matter so much more when they sort of come in, just little bits and pieces here and there. That's the part I love about this movie. It keeps you on a string. So it's like, oh my God, there's an action scene here. When are we going to see the next one? And it's not too long before you see it, but when you see it, it's like, it's going to be good, because you've already seen the first one. You're like, that was pretty impressive. And then you see the next one and it's like, this is just as impressive. But in between that, you have so much good content to go through. With sort of the other thing that we'll talk about in the next scene, because I think I know what the next scene is, but the dialogue in this movie is also freaking great. Like, some of the lines that he delivers are just fire. But yeah, man, it's just I really liked it, because like, I'm not sure I'm sure he's trained in martial arts, something like that, because that first one in the prison looked like Wing Chun, like the Kung Fu style, where you're just sort of standing and you're letting people come to you and you're not moving much. So it looked a little bit like that. But yeah, it's cool to see somebody even of his age. Because in Hollywood, the actor that I love, and I know you're probably a big fan of his too, is Liam Neeson.
Oh yeah.
But even at his age, the guy's going around kicking around people and killing people. But I've noticed at his age, he doesn't run around much. He just lets them come to him.
We let the camera zoom past him real quick. Correct, he might have a gun.
And so it's sort of similar to that. But in this one, I feel like the way they've done it with the drama, it's just so good.
It's very well put together. And the reason I say it's believable is because, like, somebody of that age could easily just be like, no, I'll have my associate do the work for me.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Like, he's got a guy standing right behind him. But instead, no, he's actually throwing his leg into those positions.
Correct.
He's, pinning somebody to the wall with his foot. It's just, you can't fling somebody over your head like that. You're not going to be able to.
No.
But that's the other cool thing about it is like it's hyper realism instead of absurdity, and that made it so much cooler. It's stylized, almost more like a Tarantino, or like I was watching Brotherhood of the Wolf the other day. That also has some really crazy stylized action in it. But the movie itself is like unbelievably serious, but because we have these other cool moments, it almost allows us to breathe for just a little bit. And I appreciated everything about it.
Yeah, definitely another reason what makes it sort of mass appeal with these action sequences, and we've definitely enjoyed that. Let's jump on the next one.
There it is.
That smile, it's like I know what's going on, and like it's so subtle. The shock. Prithviraj loves the foreground, background.
Yeah.
Looks like the director, he really likes to use this technique.
Especially in those intimate scenes with Steven, which makes a lot of sense. Because when you're in his crosshairs and you know what he's capable of, that's how you're going to feel in that moment. Everything around you is going to blur out, and it will just be a pair of eyes and a pair of eyes.
Had to include her. Like, it just felt wrong.
Especially this scene. There were some a little bit earlier on where we come to understand how charming Bobby is and how much he's now under the influence of the direct parties we see kind of controlling him. But like here is really where she kind of clicks in, and especially after she believes her daughter, which is what we're seeing here.
Yes. Yes, I mean, there's 2 points I wanted to mention just in that one scene, because like there's I think I've included some more later on, but like the dialogue in this is so fun, and I'm sure if you're a native speaker of Malayalam, you would just be like, whoa, because he delivers like a couple lines. The one you mentioned before about the the greater, the political statement about evil versus evil or something like that. That's great, but there's so many of those lines, like in this scene where he's just like, he knows what's going on. It's a power play, which is just fantastic. Like he knows, and even even I don't know who the actor is, but the other guy that's playing that role, fantastic. Just that shock and awe, like, oh, what? But
it's not over the top, Another,
similar to what we mentioned about the action sequences. They're like, it's like yes, Mohanlal cannot pick somebody off, like that, but it's not so far of a stretch where it's unbelievable. Like we keep mentioning this movie, the Fast and Furious franchise, that leans, especially as the sort of franchises have gone on, that's leaned more into the sort of the campy comedy action sequences rather than realistic. But this is like, it's still grounded to an extent, which makes it so great. So we can appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got nothing additional to say. I'm just like, now I'm just kind of like, can we get to another clip? Because I think I might just want to watch the whole movie over again.
No, it's really good. But I did want to mention quickly this other character, Manju, Warrior. I really appreciated her, Priyadarshini, the character's name. She was really good because I think she's one of the few characters who I feel like goes through like a journey from start to finish and goes through like an emotional, an actual arc, whereas everyone else kind of feels like Bobby. Bad guy at the end. Mohanlal basically pretty stoic in what all he does. We just see different aspects of him, but his character doesn't change at all. Like, and there's no one else that really goes through like a change of heart or change like that. She's the only one that I feel really goes through something and like sees somebody in some way. Now we're not going to get too much history into like how they met and all that stuff, which is fine. This movie doesn't need to be any longer. But
it does give you that like. Or are you talking about Steven and her, or are we talking about Bobby, her and Bobby? Okay, that's what I thought. The movie does give you that, like, Bobby was responsible for her husband's death.
Yes,
there are those quick little lines where it's like, well, how did he meet his death, and how did he meet his death? Me,
yes,
so it was all architectural.
It was the. Yeah, it's really good. But I really appreciate that they gave her character, and she plays that role really well because she's always in grief. And throughout the entire movie, from the loss of her dad to like her brother coming back to like
the way she puts the torch on the
the body, I guess,
the pyre
for the cremation pyre. Yes. Yeah,
please let us know what the correct word is in so we're not just speaking around. I think it's just pyre, but anyway,
I think so.
The way she performs that is absolutely wonderful, like just totally believable from start to finish, and why she would be so reticent to like Steven, and why she would not want Steven around, and even though there's no firm like resolution between the two, it's just really cool to see this multi-layered and faceted kind of thing. Like you nailed it on the head.
Yeah, it was really good to see. So yeah, a lot to like about this movie. Again, there's a reason why this movie is so popular, and we're discussing that with you guys more and more and seeing it more and more. So let's get on to the next one. Yeah, these are some of the lines.
Here's your banger line.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's the subtleties, man. The way he's smiling, like he knows.
It's like, and that's another, like, in 80s action movies, that line would have been like, where, like, there would have been like a huge to do about that. But the way he's putting it, like, it's a real and grounded way. It makes sense in 2019, and it's just an excellent delivery.
Same with this one. Just a callback.
തമ്പി മയിൽവാഹന തലയില്ലടാ തലയെടുക്കണം.
Man.
പണ്ടത്തെ ആ റെയിൽ പാളം, വീട്, സ്കൂള്, എതിരെ വരുന്ന തീവണ്ടി, കൈമുട്ടുകൊണ്ടൊരു തട്ട്, ഒരു തള്ള്. സാറിന്റെ ആ പഴയ ഫാമിലി ട്രിക്ക് എന്റെ അടുത്ത് എടുക്കാൻ തോന്നുവാണെങ്കിൽ ഒന്ന്
slow zoom.
I love this. This one was so good, where he finally understands that, like, they're connected.
Yeah.
ഞാൻ സ്റ്റീഫൻ തന്നെയാ.
The echo in the voice. Oh.
ഈ അന്ധതയുടെ താഴ്വരയിൽ നിന്നും നീതിമാനെ കരകയറ്റുന്നവൻ അനുഗ്രഹീതനാകുന്നു.
This genuinely surprised me. I thought for sure there was going to be like a Russian roulette moment, and the fact that he just pulls the trigger, I was like, whoa.
എന്റെ സഹോദരങ്ങളെ വിഷം കുത്തി നശിപ്പിക്കാൻ തുനിയുന്നവർ ആരായാലും അവരുടെ മേൽ അശനിപാതം പോലെ ഞാൻ പ്രഹരമേൽപ്പിക്കും. എന്റെ പകയിൽ നീറി ഒടുങ്ങുമ്പോൾ അവരറിയും അവരുടെ ഒരേ ഒരു രാജാവായിരുന്നുവെന്ന്. ഒരേ ഒരു രാജാവ്.
And I love that Bobby never wavered. He's just sitting there with that smug smirk on his face that entire scene.
Yeah. Oh.
Like, all of it is just such an effective way to prove to the audience that this character is the one you're rooting for and this is the one you want to lose.
Correct.
And then you peel back all the layers, much in the way that we have been doing for the past hour. It was a very effective, wonderful, entertaining, thoughtful, thrilling, slightly dramatic. It had it all. And it served it to me in such a delicious package that I'll, return to dine on it again and again. I was very, very taken with it in much the same way that I was with Drishium. But like here, we're at kind of we're in a different ball field, right? Like the two movies don't necessarily correlate because they're not the same genre. But
different,
it kind of felt the same way where I was like, of course this movie is as popular as it is. Look at it.
Yeah. So we can understand why this movie was so successful and why it was so popular and why it's so adored and loved by the masses. Like I think it's been remade into 2 different languages as well, or at least one is. I'm just reading here. Was remade in Telugu as Godfather. So I'll be surprised if this hasn't been remade or is not going to be remade in other languages because it's just it just has so much to offer. But then again, putting it all together like this, I'm just not sure how successful it would be because it's just the sum of its parts. All these different performances, the direction from Prithviraj, like the way he framed things, the music, the editing, all these parts have to come together and make this perfect storm of this movie. Like it really was a fun movie. Like I really enjoyed this for so many different aspects. And yeah, if I ever want to understand how you want to make a movie to just get the masses on, this is how you do it. It has great performances. It has great heart as well. That's the part about this movie. It genuinely has like but yes, there's some action and there's some death and all that stuff, which is probably a little bit troubling for some people, but overall, it's all part of the story. So, nothing feels like it's out of place is the other good thing. I really like that as well. Like, there's nothing that's really out of place, Like, there's some movies that unnecessarily do things like, I don't know, like some triggers I have, like animal violence or domestic violence or things like that, or like racism or something that's like that. Like, there are things that I just get perturbed by. This movie had elements of that with the whole, with Bobby's character, but the way that it was shot, it was just like, it just towed that line between like, if this goes any further, I'm going to get uncomfortable, but it just stops at the right point. And it serves a purpose, and it serves it, it serves it tastefully enough, like that I can be like, okay, fine, I can appreciate why you're doing this, but don't overindulge in that. When other movies do sometimes overindulge in it, and you're like, did you have to go that far? Like, and it becomes like a cartoon. But this becomes like it treats us with respect to be like, we get it, he's bad now. Like, move on. Next scene. When's the next action scene? When's the next dialogue? When's the next Mohanlal intro? When's the next story point coming? Like, it's so good. This movie is so good. I enjoyed this movie so much. Man.
It was a total blast. Not entirely top to bottom perfect. No movie is, but so engaging, so wonderful, and left me with so many questions that I was happy weren't answered. That now knowing there's parts 2 and 3, I am thrilled to know weren't answered, because nothing drives me more mad than when a movie is like, oh, and I'm cooking you up a nice mystery, and then it's just like, and here. I don't necessarily want that, because I was enjoying the mystery and the fact that I still have that, plus action, plus laughs, plus tears, plus a dramatic intrigue is wonderful. That's your recipe for success for a mass market movie.
Yeah, this really worked. So yeah, we really enjoyed doing this. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed watching this movie, Doug. It was really good to chat about it, man. Let's see what happens in the second one, man. Let's see what happens. See. I think the second, as we sort of said, the second one I feel is going to explore. I believe it's not going to be a continuation. It's more exploring aspects of Steven's character, which are probably from before, maybe all this happened, perhaps, or maybe it's like a little bit after as well. Maybe it's a bit of both, but it's not going to be particularly around this story and what happened here in terms of like this villain and this story and the journey he went on here. So there'll be some things like that. But there's also another undertone of this movie, I feel, which we haven't talked too much about, because I don't know much about it, but there's a whole like, they keep referencing like Christianity in some ways. So like the lines and things like that. I wasn't too familiar with what they were talking about, but I'm sure if you are familiar with those, with the verses that he's talking about, there's another layer of, maybe there's a story from the Bible, something like that it's pulling from, or the story of Lucifer or something like that, or I don't know. There's something there which I don't know enough about to talk on, but there's something else.
Neither do I.
People would probably appreciate that too. That's another reason why, it's just drawing in another crowd, and it's not in your face where you have to know about it to understand it. It's like there's a subtle layer under the surface, which if you understand it, it's going to click with you. But for us, it didn't matter because we didn't really understand that, but we understood so much of the other stuff that it didn't matter. But hey, let us know what you thought about this movie in the comment section.
Yeah, please do.
We'd love to get some comments about this one, because we are eagerly looking forward to the second part of this movie coming out. And thanks again for supporting the channel, and we will chat to you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.